installment of my Makeup 101 video series. So today we are going to be covering powder bronzer. I'm so excited for this topic because I feel like bronzer is a kind of misunderstood product for a lot of people, and I personally love bronzer. I feel like it can do so much for your skin and also for your makeup look. But I'm not going to get into details now, so let me stop blabbering and let's just get right into the video. First things first, yes, bronzer is obviously going to bronze your skin, but I like to think of powder bronzer more as a product to just help add dimension back into your face in a very soft, subtle way. So when you wear makeup and you have your eye makeup on and your lips, and then you have your foundation, concealer, and powder on, but nothing else on your face, sometimes your face can look too stark, and you will actually be able to see that in action in the demo part of this video. When that happens, you can use powder bronzer lightly or heavily to just kind of soften up the whole makeup look and make it look a lot more cohesive. It'll also help bring back some of the natural curves and shadows in your face in a softer way than a powder contour would. Naturally, most people's faces are not the same color as the rest of their bodies. They're usually a little bit lighter. For most people, it's very hard to find an exact foundation match that will make your face the same exact color as your neck and your chest and your hands. Also, now with summer coming around, even tanning by a quarter of a shade is automatically going to make your foundation a little bit too light for you, and therefore you're going to have a color discrepancy between your face and your body. Powder bronzer is just a great and super easy way to even out any minor discrepancies between your face shade and the rest of your body based on the technique and the products that you use. Culturally, in a lot of places, the ideal is fair and lovely, pun intended. So that being said, when you suggest bronzer for people, it's kind of like an, oh my god, no, I don't want to be darker, don't make me darker. Powder bronzer, based on the technique you use, the products you use, it's not going to change your base skin tone, but what it is going to do is it's going to make your skin just look really healthy, glowing, and radiant. So powder bronzer is for everybody and all skin tones. Now, let me get into your bronzing products. I think one of the mistakes people make is that they choose the incorrect product for their skin, and in turn they are turned off from powder bronzer. One of the most important things to look at when you're looking for a bronzing powder is the undertone. So you generally have warm, neutral, and cool toned bronzing products. Warm tone products are more orange or red in tone. Neutral products are more yellow in tone. And then finally you have your cool products, which are less bronzers, more contour products, and they are more gray in tone. Now when it comes to choosing the correct undertone for you, that a lot of it has to do with a personal preference. So first I'm going to go through warm toned bronzers. This is the Makeup Forever Pro Sculpting Duo in 02. So I actually picked this duo up for the highlight shade, but you can see that the bronzer shade is pretty orange. To be honest, I haven't really played around with it as much. I kind of swatched it and how orange it was kind of freaked me out a little bit, but a lot of people like this bronzing shade. Now for the neutral bronzers, the first one I have to show you guys is the Girlactik matte bronzer in the shade Cabo. So this is what Cabo looks like, and the top is not detachable, but mine broke. So it's a beautiful powder, and it's very hard, next to impossible, to overdo on the face because of the color tone. If you have very deep skin, I wouldn't suggest this just because it's not even going to show up on the skin. But if you have medium to fair skin, then check this out. It does deepen up once you apply it, so don't let the color fool you. Definitely try this product out though, I love it. I have the Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion, and I have mine in the shade 20M. This I discussed in my May favorites video, and the love is real. It just blends out so well. The color is beautiful, and it's really, really buildable. It comes in M's and I's. M's are for matte, I is for illuminated, so I's have a little more shimmer in them, but this is also not really matte. It's a very glowy finish, and I'm obsessed with it. But this is what I mean by cool tone. So this is the Marc Jacobs InstaMarc Light Filtering Contour Powder in 40 Mirage filter. So you can see that this powder is gray, like it's almost a taupe colored powder, which makes for a stunning contour. But as a bronzer, I would not go for a cool toned powder because it's going to make your face look gray and ashy. Another thing to think about is whether you want a matte bronzer or whether you want a shimmering bronzer. I would suggest trying different bronzers out on your skin. Go to Sephora, have people apply it on you, go to a friend's house, use their bronzers, and just look at yourself, take pictures, see what you prefer on your face, and then you'll really know for sure, and once you know, you know. You know what I mean? Lastly, I wanted to just throw in another product option that is a little more out of the box, and that is to use powder foundations. So if you find a powder foundation formula that you really love, I would suggest trying it out in a darker shade and using that as your bronzer. A lot of times powder foundations are very, very silky and easy to blend because they are foundations. So having that in a bronzer is pretty awesome. Now I'm going to talk about some tools. Tools, as always, are just as important as the products you're using. The first ones I'm going to show you guys are angled brushes. It's just your basic, dense, fluffy angled brush, and it's pretty soft. It's not firm. What angled brushes are going to give you is a lot of precision, so you're going to be able to place the product exactly where you want it. The next tools I have to show you guys are blush brushes. Basically, you want this kind of a little bit of a larger tapered brush, but still very soft. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you still some precision, less than the angled brush, but it's going to be easier to blend and disperse more color. So these are great if you want a just quick wash of color just all over the high points of your face. The next tools are powder brushes. Basically, it's a much larger, again, soft, fluffy brush. What these are going to give you is a lot less precision, but they're going to be much quicker and easier to get a lot more color in the areas you want it. So when it comes to technique, bronzing is pretty basic. You just want to focus on the high points of your face where the sun would naturally hit. So that means your cheeks and a little bit higher on your cheeks, not necessarily the hollows of your cheeks where you would contour, but from your cheekbones down a little bit, your forehead, down the center of your nose, and your chin area a little bit. But it's much easier to see techniques in a demo, so now let's get into the demo part of the video. So right now I have nothing on my face besides foundation, a little bit of under eye concealer, and my face powder. Of course, I have my eyes and my lips done, but on my face there's nothing else. So today I'm going to show you guys 3 different intensities of how to bronze up your face. The first intensity is basically just to give yourself a little bit of definition and to add a little color to your face, so it helps just tie in the rest of your makeup. The second version is a little more of a tan, but it's still going to give you the definition and it's not going to be anything too severe. And the third intensity is the most I would ever do with a bronzer, and it's really going to give you an intense sun-kissed look, but in a very pretty way. Demo, I'm gonna go ahead and use the angled brush, and for my bronzer I'm gonna use the Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start off with the first level of intensity. I'm gonna take my angled brush and just really get it in there. I'm basically just going to focus right here. And I'm going to start further back because you don't want a lot of dark color in the center of your face. You want to keep this portion kind of the lightest. I'm just going to go in and swipe back and forth lightly, because what you might end up doing if you're a little too rough with your brush is moving your foundation and your powder underneath it, and that's when you start to look patchy. So I'm just gonna go back in. So I place the brush vertically and I sweep back and forth, but then to get a better blend, I kind of turn it horizontally or a little bit on an angle, and I just do circular motions to really buff it in. But I'm still maintaining a really light hand. Another thing you want to always make sure you're doing is blending it into your hairline. It should look like the color is natural, so it's just going to fade away. So again, just back into the hairline and blend it out until you are happy. And you can do more color than this or less color, but on my skin tone, I think this is a good place to stop. So as you can tell, it's really, really subtle, but if you look at this half of my face versus this half of my face, this side just looks a lot more complete and finished, and this side looks obviously incomplete. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And just like with any other makeup, it's better to build the bronzer up rather than to go full tilt with a crazy intense bronzer and then run into an issue of it being too dark or you looking muddy. So I prefer starting out lighter and then deepening up as I go. And again, I'm just going to take that a little bit onto the cheekbones. And that is my level 1 intensity for a light use of bronzer. For level 2 intensity, you want to have your cheeks done exactly like this. You can, of course, increase the intensity of color on your cheeks, but what really is going to make it a little more dramatic is focusing on the forehead as well. Very similar to contour. You want to just bronze up the sections kind of above the arch of your eyebrow, leaving the center of your forehead clear. So I'm just going to take my bronzer. Again, I'm going to really swirl it in, tap it off like that, and then I'm just going to go above the arch, and you want to hit the temples just the slightest bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, really blending it into the hairline, because the last thing you want is for your face to look really pretty and bronzed up and then for you to see just like a white line right near your scalp where you stop blending in all your makeup. You also always want to make sure that you're constantly checking to make sure that bronzer on both sides of your face is even. Finally, for my level 3 intensity, which is going to make you look like a bronzed beach babe, or at least I think so, you are just adding a little bit more onto what you already have. So you're going to do your cheeks, you're going to do your forehead, but then you're also going to add your nose, your chin. At this point too, if you want a much deeper, more intense bronzed look, of course you can go in with a little bit of a darker bronzer based on your skin tone, or just build up the product. So I'm going to go back in and add a little more to my cheeks, again on both sides. I'm going to pump up the forehead a little bit, not too much. It's also very hard to overdo with this bronzer. Then I'm going to just take a little bit and I'm going to go down the center of my nose. This is where it can get a little bit tricky, because if you want to contour your nose, you don't want your bronzer to blend out your contour. Bronzer should anyways be lighter than your contour on your nose regardless. So that's why when I took the bronzer, I just took a very little bit and I'm tapping off the excess. And I'm not going to blend it into the nose, I'm just going to tap it a little bit on. Just because naturally when the sun hits my face, it is going to hit down the center of the nose. But don't worry, there are still ways where you can contour and highlight and shape your nose even if you bronze it up, but I will show that to you guys in another 101 video. And I'm just gonna tap it onto my chin. Again, also on my chin, I don't want anything crazy intense. What you can do, which will help make you look more tan, you can just take a little bit of bronzer, tap off the excess, and then just go into the hairline in the center. But again, you want to keep it here, not further down, because this part should still be lit. What you need to remember to do is to blend it down. You don't want your face to be looking significantly more bronzed up than the rest of your body. You could use a fluffy powder brush and really just buff it out onto the neck, but I always just use the same brush. So I'm just going to spread my collar a little bit, and I'm just going to take an ample amount of the powder, and I'm going to run it down my neck. So I'm going to do 1/2, and you want to make sure you're really getting into all the areas that would be seen. So that's 1/2 of the neck. And then I'm going to do the other half. As always, start off lighter and you can build up the color, but that way you'll also be able to match it more accurately. And then I'm just going to go wherever my skin is showing. And I'm going to check to see how I'm matching up. Maybe just add a little bit more. So once you've kind of evened out the look between your face and your neck, the final step that I always like to do, no matter what I've applied on my face, is buff everything out with a clean brush. You can use a stippling brush, which is generally what I like to use because it's not going to pull any of the product that's down on your face already. So I'm just going to use the stippling brush, and I'm going to lightly blend out the neck, but then with really light strokes, I'm just going to go ahead and buff everything out on my face because I don't want any harsh lines. And that is the highest level of intensity. So actually, if you guys want to just rewind back a little bit and see what my face looked like before I had all this bronzer on, do that because it's a huge difference. But even now, just looking at my face, to me at least, and to what I'm used to, this looks really pretty. You can tell that I'm wearing makeup, obviously, but I just love the way my skin looks with this kind of bronzer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish up my face and I will be right back. This is the final look. I went ahead and applied my blush and also highlighter. And again, this is the level 3 intensity of bronzer, but I did show you guys 3 different levels of intensity, so it's really just based on what you guys feel comfortable with and the type of makeup that makes you feel happy and confident. I just love the way bronzer looks. I find that if you apply it in a certain way, it just makes your skin look really healthy and really glowy, and I always feel a lot more put together and kind of switched on when I have bronzer on my face. But again, totally up to you guys, whatever makes you happy. This is just my techniques for how I like to apply bronzer. That brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm actually really loving making these Makeup 101 videos, so I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying them as well and finding them helpful. Leave a comment down below for me and let me know what you guys thought about the video, and as always, let me know what videos you guys want to see from me in the future. But until the next one, I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!